Hello everyone. In today's digital age, cybersecurity is a critical concern for businesses of all sizes. With the increasing number of cyber threats, it has become essential to ensure that your organization's security measures are up to date and effective. The Open Web Application Security Project, that is OWASP, is a non-profit organization that provides information on web application security. OWASP has identified the top 10 most critical web application security risks known as OWASP Top 10. In this session, we will examine one of these risks in detail, which is A05 Security Misconfiguration and Security Settings. A05 refers to the fifth risk on the OWASP top 10 list, which is security misconfiguration. This risk occurs when an application or system is not configured correctly, leaving it vulnerable to attacks. It can happen due to various reasons such as default configuration being used without modification or outdated software versions being used. Security settings refer to the configuration options available in an application or system that affect its overall security posture. These settings include access controls, encryption protocols, password policies, network configurations, and more. Computing systems and applications often experience security misconfigurations that can potentially expose them to cyber criminals. According to a threat stack report, over 73% of companies experience at least one critical security misconfiguration. The Open Web Application Security Project OWASP updated its famous list of top 10 vulnerabilities in 2021 with the security misconfiguration ranking as the fifth most dangerous risk. So, what is a security misconfiguration? A security misconfiguration is a flaw or weakness in a system or application that occurs due to improper setup in maintaining robust security protocols or oversight in a configuration process. This misconfiguration can lead to unauthorized access, data breaches, and other security incidents. Misconfigurations can occur at any level of an application stack, including the platform, web server, application server, database, framework, and custom code. They might involve unpatched flaws, default or unsecured configurations, unprotected files or directories, unnecessary service running, and improper permissions. A security misconfiguration is when security options are not defined in a way that maximize security or when services are deployed with insecure default settings. This can happen in any computing system, software application, as well as in a cloud and network infrastructure. Security misconfiguration is a common cause of cyber attacks and successful data breaches. Frameworks have made programming easy, reducing the time and effort spent building an application. However, these frameworks have complex configurations, increasing the risk of security misconfigurations. Similarly, open source code is widely used and might come with a default configuration that compromise security and make the application insecure. Security misconfiguration is an easy to target vulnerability. It is typically easy to detect misconfigured web servers and applications, and hackers can exploit the vulnerabilities they discover to cause significant damage. Now let's imagine it another way. Think of your tech systems as a brand new feature-packed car. It is impressive, powerful, and has ton of awesome features. But if you don't know how to use these features correctly, you might leave your car open to theft or damage. Let's say you forget to set a password for your car's wireless entry system or don't turn on alarm system. It's not the car's fault. It's how it's been set up that the problem. Just like how your system or application can be at risk because of misconfiguration. Now, picture that 9 out of 10 cars on the road have this kind of setup problems. That's the scale we're dealing with according to OWASP. Types of security misconfiguration. You could be the victim of security misconfiguration for several reasons. With multiple parties involved in developing a web application, proper implementation of a security framework could slip through the cracks. A lack of understanding and failure to review patches are some causes. The most common security misconfiguration that occur are listed below. Unpatched systems. Attackers can exploit a bug that has not been patched to execute a malicious program. Cybercriminals commonly exploit this loophole to scan environments for any unpatched systems and leverage the same across applications illegally. Default account settings. You might set up a few trust configurations to streamline access between systems. However, this opens up your application to attacks and breaches across your network that compromise vital data. Unencrypted files. Unencrypted or poorly encrypted files give hackers opportunity to illegally access your system, steal data, or modify it with false information. Unsecured devices. Using compromised devices or credentials or using the same passwords for different systems could make your environment insecure. Even if attackers could gain unauthorized access to one of your systems, the entire network could be exploited. Web application and cloud misconfiguration. Cyber attacks could detect misconfiguration vulnerabilities in your system and exploit the same, causing severe harm directly or indirectly. Insufficient firewall protection. If you leave services running on a firewall, it could expose a window for attackers to exploit vulnerabilities and disrupt your system. A misconfiguration may take place for a variety of reasons. Today's network infrastructures are intricate and continually changing. Organizations might overlook essential security settings, such as network equipment that could still have default configurations. Even if an organization has secured configuration for its endpoints, you must still regularly audit security controls and configurations to identify configuration drift. New equipment is added to the network, system change and patches are applied, all adding to the misconfiguration. Developers may develop network shares and firewall rules to ease while building software, keeping them unchanged. Sometimes administrators permit configuration modification for troubleshooting or testing purposes, but these don't return to the initial state. Employees often temporarily disable an antivirus if it overrides particular actions such as running installers and then fail to remember to enable it. It is estimated that over 20% of endpoints have outdated antivirus or anti-malwares. What actions typically leads to security misconfiguration? Leaving default as is. Software and systems typically provide users with default passwords so you can set them or install them onto your computer. But they always remind you to change the default settings to ensure that you only can use them or change how they work. Insecurities may also stem from using default settings in certificates. Continuing to use deprecated protocols and encryption. Protocols, including those meant for encryptions, are retired for a reason. They are no longer meet the current security demand. That said, continued usage of different applications can lead to security misconfigurations and their nasty effects. Leaving databases open. There is a reason why user access limitations are set to restrict unauthorized people from getting their hands on data they are not supposed to see. If anyone in an organization can access databases that contain confidential data, any attacker who compromises their accounts can too. Enabling directory listing. While maintaining a directory makes data more accessible to users, the practice also leaves everything open for anyone, including threat actors, to see. Showing error messages with sensitive information. Revealing too much information may make error fixing easier but also tells everyone else, including attackers, how to get to their target. misconfiguring cloud settings. Errors left unaddressed in cloud service settings, including those mentioned above, can also lead to security misconfiguration, enabling unnecessary features. These features include internal only pages, ports, and command injection. Internal only pages must not be publicly accessible or viewable. Ports that aren't in use should remain closed, especially if attackers typically abuse them. And not all users should be allowed to use commands on resources. All these translate to security misconfigurations. The given diagram summarizes the factors that typically leads to security misconfiguration. Defaults, unnecessary features, deprecated protocols and weak encryption, open databases, cloud setting errors, too much information in error messages, and directory listing. Security misconfiguration real life examples. Security misconfiguration vulnerability issues are old as any security measure themselves. So we have seen countless examples in the past. Here's but a couple. The NASA or a Jira incident. You would think that one of the most technologically advanced and program-driven companies in the world would know better. At last they didn't. All it took was one humble security enthusiast to identify a security misconfiguration in the biggest and maybe the most disliked collaboration tool out the Jira. This one default authorization misconfiguration movement left multiple Fortune 500 companies, including NASA, vulnerable. Through this vulnerability, third parties were able to access internal user data, including names, email IDs, project details, and other sensitive information. What happened? When Jira developed dashboard and filter for individual issues or entire project, the visibility settings were set all users and everyone by default. Of course, ideally, things like roadmap tasks should have been shared within the organization, but the beloved Jira shared them with the public. Second, Amazon S3 mishaps. Amazon's simple storage service, also known as Amazon S3, has been abused by hackers more times than anyone can count. From the misconfigured S3 bucket that revealed 50,000 patient records in the US to the ones that exposed over 80 US municipalities, the attackers spared no one. Even the United States Army Intelligence and Security Command has leaked several sensitive files in the past due to Amazon S3, including OVA, Oracle Virtual Appliance volumes with portions marked top secret. The fact that hundreds of corporations, including military and government agencies, rely on the Amazon S3 doesn't mean it is secure. In fact, looking at the dozen of security events in the past, you should carefully monitor the service's authorization if you don't decide to use it. Critics Legacy Protocol Attack. Critics use an IMAP-based cloud email server became the target of IMAP-based password spraying. IMAP is an insecure legacy protocol and attackers exploited it to get access to cloud-based accounts and SaaS applications. Using multi-factor authentication could have stopped the attack. Mirai botnet. Mirai botnet was mega-scale botnet that infected network devices like CCTV cameras, DVD devices, and home routers. The botnet exploited a misconfiguration in these devices. The use of insecure default passwords. The botnet was used to carry out DDoS attacks of unprecedented magnitude, which brought down websites like Twitter, Reddit, and Netflix. Impact of security misconfiguration risk can be severe for organizations if left unaddressed. Attackers can exploit misconfigured systems by gaining unauthorized access to sensitive data or taking control over systems entirely. For example, suppose an attacker gain access to a database server with weak authentication credentials due to misconfigured settings. In that case, they could steal sensitive data such as customer information or financial records, leading to reputational damage and financial loss for organizations. Attackers are all too ready to exploit security misconfigurations to gain unauthorized access to an app's functionalities, default accounts, unused pages, or unprotected files and directories. Having confidential information exposed is a common outcome of security misconfigurations. When databases and other protective controls are not properly configured, application data and code can be made accessible to those who should have no access to them. The risk of directory traversal attack, also known as directory listing attack, on mobile applications and remote attacks also increase with configuration errors. To avoid unwanted outcomes, a reliable and repeatable automated security configuration and hardening process is essential. This approach reduces the manual effort that would otherwise be required to create a secure environment. The hardening process should also be regularly audited to verify the effectiveness of the configuration in all environments. Such audits are best done with the help of OWASP certified pen testers who can conduct detailed system checks and thus help protect entire web applications from attack. Let's see some of the vulnerability exploitation examples where we perform actual attacks to see security misconfiguration risk. In our first example, we'll see a lab exploiting XCC using external entities to retrieve files. This lab has a check stock feature that parses XML input and returns any unexpected values in the response. We just have to inject an XML external entity to retrieve the contents of /etc password file. Here we have a product page. We just have to, in that product page, we just have to intercept the check stock request in burp, and after intercepting that request, we got the XML file where we have to declare an external entity which will gives us a response of etc password file. So here we are taking the second product, vintage neck defender. In this product we just take the check stock request. Now I'll make sure that the intercept is on. Here I replace London to Paris and hitting that request, and the check stock request is intercepted. Now just normally send that request to repeater. Here I am normally sending that request and it gives response. Now just as given, replace insert the declaration in stock check element. Here I am copying that declaration and entering that in XML file and hitting request. It just normally gives the response of this request, but we have to change product ID to XCC so that we can get access to etc password file. Here I am just pasting and we'll get the response of 400 bad request, but it shows the etc password file content which we have to solve. By using this, attacker can manipulate or can take over user credentials to gain access, and here the lab is solved. Here we are using demo.testfire.net for pen testing. This web application is open source for testing. Here I am adding default credentials like admin as a username and admin as a password to check it is accepting default credentials or not. And here this website is accepting admin as a username and password, which are the default credentials and can be guessable by attacker to bypass the login. So using default credential, it might take over your website easily. We can see this vulnerability in different way also by intercepting this request in intruder and performing the default credential attack. So here I am taking the login page and entering ABCD as a normal string to intercept this request. Here the request is intercepted. I normally hit that request to the intruder tab where we perform brute force attack to check it is accepting default credentials or not. Just make sure that the user ID and password field should be $. And here I am using cluster bomb option where we can use multiple payloads. Now just normally giving the default credentials which any developer will use, like demo, then admin, for password admin 123, pass 123, or many other default username and passwords which will use by developers, and this will give attacker to bypass the login credentials easily and take over the account. So here I am normally giving default credential to check that the website is accepting default credentials or not, and setting payload set to, it will use multiple payloads in different combinations for testing on both the parameter. I normally just start the attack, and here we'll get the status code of 302, but in length parameter there is a changes in admin payload. Just normally send that request to repeater, and here I'll send that request. After sending, it gives a 302 found response. Follow redirection, and it directly gives access to the Altero Mutual website by giving 200 OK response, and the account is get logged in. Preventing a security misconfiguration attack might seem strenuous since it compromises various vulnerabilities. Attackers could use any type of misconfiguration to attack your web application, intruding on your confidential files. However, a few simple practices could secure your system from such attack. Let's take a look at preventive measures you need to employ against security misconfiguration. Regularly update and patch systems. Ensure all systems, software, and applications are up to date by implementing a consistent patch management strategy. This involves tracking, downloading, and installing the latest security patches to protect against known vulnerabilities. Keeping everything current closes doors that hackers might otherwise walk through. Change default settings. Default usernames and passwords are often easy for attackers to guess. Make sure to change these defaults during setup and use strong, unique credentials. This is like changing the locks when you move into a new house. You wouldn't want the old keys to still work. Implement strong access controls. Access controls like having different keys for different rooms. Only give people access to area they need to their job. Implementing role-based access controls and regularly reviewing permissions can prevent unauthorized access and limit potential damage if an account is compromised. Use automated tools for detection. Utilizing automated scanning tools to check your system for misconfiguration regularly can be likened to a regular health checkup. These tools can catch potential issues early, allowing you to fix them before they become serious problems. Regularly security audits. Security audits involve a detailed review of your organization's to regulatory guidelines. Think of it like an depth home inspection. It's a thorough check to ensure everything is in a proper place and there are no hidden risks. Regular audits can catch misconfigurations you might have missed and help maintain compliance with legal requirements. Properly configure network devices. Properly configuring network devices like routers and firewalls is alike to setting up walls and gates of a fortress. Mistake in this setup can leave your network open to attacks. Regular reviews and utilizing professional guidance can ensure that these events are correctly configured. Secure cloud storage. Misconfigurations in cloud storage settings can lead to unauthorized access. Ensuring that all storage containers are private and implementing proper authentication mechanisms can prevent this. Think of it as putting values in a safe deposit box rather than leaving them out of table. Employee training. Employees need to be aware of the best practices related to security. Regular training sessions and equip them in the knowledge they need, like teaching them how to recognize phishing emails or how to handle sensitive data. Think of this training as a teaching them how to be good security guards for your organization. Before I conclude this session, I would just say that security misconfigurations are a dangerous threat to systems and its place in the OWASP top 10 for over a decade proves it. These misconfigurations serve as an essential foothold for advisors to start exploiting your systems. In this video, we touch base upon different aspects: what security misconfigurations are, their impact, common security misconfiguration examples, and how to tackle them. To combat security misconfiguration, we need a multi-faceted approach. Conduct regular asset inventories, use automatic detection tools, and employ penetration testing to view things through an attacker's eyes. Don't forget about continuous monitoring and auditing to keep configuration in check. By following industry best practices and frameworks, we lay the groundwork for secure configurations. Remember, every misconfiguration resolved is a step closer to more secure future. Looking to get your organization tested for security misconfiguration, book a call to schedule a pen test, confident that you have taken care of all misconfigurations, and get a one-time pen test and have the satisfaction of being right. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time while covering the other vulnerabilities from the OWASP top 10 list. Thank you.